Pokémon Legends Z-A was a game that when it first came out, there was a lot of chatter. And a lot of that chatter was negative. A lot of that was the windows look horrible. Look at the walls, man. Look at all this slop, man. Pokemon's releasing all this slop. And that was some people that didn't play it. Those people that didn't really care. They just wanted Pokemon to fail. And it left a lot of people wondering, will this game be worth playing? Is this game good? Is Pokemon giving us another game that's half-baked, not interesting, nothing fun to do with these horrible visuals? Well, I just rolled credits on Pokemon Legends Z-A, and I'm here to tell you now, this might be one of the most fun games I've ever played with Pokemon. And since I've rolled credits on this game and got to play it a little bit longer, and I waited until I let it digest in my mind of how I felt about this game, I had a great time. But that leaves a question in my head on what's next for Pokemon. How will they use this game to build further upon what they want when it comes to the Pokemon franchise? What's good, everybody? It's Blue Satire, and I wanted to talk with y'all today about Pokemon Legends Z-A. Pokemon Legends Z-A, if you didn't know, is the second game in the spin-off, even though it's a mainline or whatever they be telling us, in the Legends series right after Arceus. And this game is set in the Pokemon fictional world of Lumio City, which kind of mirrors Paris. But my question to everybody today that I'll be talking about in this video is, what is next for Pokemon after this game? But also, what were your thoughts on this game? Because I'm gonna give you my thoughts real quick about what I like, what I didn't like, what they can improve on, and what I want to see with the next game that they can take from this game that we just played. So if you could, like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. But first off, let me say that there will be no spoilers. I'll maybe talk about a few things, but I do want people to play this game for themselves. I just kind of want to talk about certain things, certain characters, and just my overall thoughts of the game now that I completed it. Now, first, when it comes to gameplay, because I think that's the main thing that Pokemon Legends Z-A does different that a lot of people wasn't expecting. And I believe that this is one of those things that I want to see more of in the future. The gameplay mechanics kind of mirror Xenoblade Chronicles, another one of my favorite JRPGs made by Nintendo. And with this new battling system, it's kind of real time, so you can move around with your Pokemon, and you're able to use the moves on a cooldown system versus PP. Ha 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 ha. And this system is very fun. I like being able to run around with my Pokemon, and they kept something from Legend Arceus is that you can get packed up. You can get packed up by these Pokemon, and some of them are really, really aggressive. And if you've been in Zone 17, you know what I'm talking about. But being able to see the different type of moves, the way that they interact, like using Stealth Rock now actually leaves them on the field, and if you stay in there, you're getting packed up. Or you can dodge a move by using that too. Like, it's just the ways that the moves interact with the Pokemon makes it very, very reminiscent of the anime. And I think that's what a lot of people have always wanted when it comes to Pokemon games. They wanted something fresh and new. A lot of people have said gameplay has been stale. They're tired of turn-based, things like that. And I think this is a step in the right direction when it comes to the gameplay. Now, there are things they need to work on with this, because sometimes it can feel a little bit OP, or there's not as much strategy involved in these battles as there used to be when it comes to turn-based. How can they fix that though? That's the real question. If you got any ideas in the comment section, let me know. But I think it would be cool if they implemented a way to make these moves even more interactive. Maybe work on their cooldown system, maybe work on how the Pokemon moves. I think in the future game, if they go to Gen 10 and they actually use this, they would have to revamp this whole thing. And I'll talk about that later when I ask about what's next for Pokemon in the future. But the gameplay loop is essentially the same as Arceus when it comes to exploring the town instead of the region. And finding, you working with Emma, who's the detective from Pokemon X and Y. It was good to see her back. And you're doing tasks, working with your team MZ folks, with the big homie AZ, and you got all your compadres, your partners, which they were a good cast in themselves. And you're going around fighting these mega rogue Pokemon. But also, gameplay loop is just going around town. I do wish they would have had like the skates back or something to get around a little bit faster. But that city isn't as big as it's big, it's explorable, but Maybe a bike or something wasn't really needed, but it would have been cool to pay homage to Pokemon X and Y with some skates. But going on the rooftops, seeing the Pokemon in the environment and things like that was pretty cool. But the gameplay loop of doing missions, catching Pokemon, and also shiny hunting, this is a good game for shiny hunting, kept me satisfied, and I'm still playing it because it was very fun. One of the biggest things was at night that ZA Royale happens, and you're going around packing up people pretty much. You jumping people. It's the hood in Pokemon, essentially, as you're sneaking around trying to get the first jump on somebody to rack up these points to progress your level. And I won't talk about how the progression level goes, but I know a lot of people might feel a certain way about how they progress and how some things might skip, blah, blah, blah. But I think it was good to the story. Speaking of story, let's talk about the story and the environment as well, because they both go hand in hand. Now, a lot of people had their concerns when they saw that we would only be able to go to Lumio City in Pokemon Legends Z-A, as opposed to how we were able to explore a bunch of different biomes in Legend Arceus. And me too, I was like, I don't know. But honestly, I think it felt pretty good. I liked exploring the city and seeing people have their little routines, seeing different shops that I used to see back in X and Y, seeing certain places and nostalgia of the game that I'm not gonna talk about, but just seeing those things and seeing the park, seeing the Pokemon in their environments. And the city had a lot of different areas you can go to on top of the characters. The windows, yeah. They could have did better with that, but also I didn't care because I'm not playing Pokemon for the windows or the walls, so the sweat drop. That's one thing that they do have to work on, and I think because this was a cross-gen game, those visuals were the last thing that was on their mind. Outside of that, the game actually looks pretty good and runs very well. Even if the windows are a problem, you can't sit up here and tell me that Pokemon Legends Z-A is an ugly game. I hear people saying it lacks a PS2 game, like a PS2 games. Y'all ain't old enough to know what a PS2 game look like if y'all saying this look like a PS2 game. No, this game is not like a PS2 or N64 GameCube game. Quit hating. Be critical, be real when you're gonna be critical if you're gonna be critical, please. Because there are some problems. Visually, it does need to improve when it comes to the backdrops, especially in a game where you want it to be open and exploring the city. And that's a lot of people's qualms too, is having more buildings that I can actually go into. If Legends Z-A had a couple places that you can go inside, and I did enjoy the way those look, but a lot of the city was being outside. And a lot of the characters were kind of stationary, and it would have been a lot more immersive if they were doing more. And that's something they can work on in the future. But the few people that were doing things was pretty cool. Like there was a trainer that always has their routine of running laps in the morning, and it was cool to see that. And one of my favorite things is taking pictures. Like y'all, you see my social media, you see all the pictures I've been taking when it comes to this game, and they do a great job of letting some of the NPCs and a lot of the main NPCs, when you pull your camera out, they react to it. So you can do a bunch of different poses, not only with them, but with your Pokemon too. And that's been a very fun part for me as well. Now the story is pretty good to me, and because I don't want to spoil it, I would say it is a story about protecting your city, protecting what's dear to you, being responsible for your community, and I think that's a dope story. But also just seeing different things from the past come back to Lumio City, because this game does take place 5 years after everything that happened there. And it's just dope to see these characters come together to try to defend their city, help their city, but also seeing people realize things. And the different characters all this is one of the best cast of characters in Pokemon. Like Naveen is dope. Tony got main character syndrome, but we still love her. Jacynthia might be one of my favorite folks. Gwen is cool. Jacynthia Dragon Friend, I can't think of her name right now. I'm doing this on top of my dome. Just all the characters have their very different personality, and they're somewhat involved in the story. And I love when NPCs stay involved in the story. That's what we need more of. But also just being different and having their own different Pokemon. On top of all the different new Mega Evolutions. And there are a lot of them in there that people might think looks like, well, this is weird, but I love the Goofy, and that's just me. Overall, Pokemon Legends Z-A is a solid game from Game Freak, especially when a lot of us have kind of lost a little bit of faith in what they can do. One thing I will always know as a Pokemon fan, I know I'll enjoy it, but there's gonna always be something that I wanna see improve when it comes to these games. And with this game, the battling system, the characters, the story, the music. I forgot to talk about the music. This is a top 2, top 3 soundtrack in Pokemon. Like, the different elements they put onto the game, the different instruments are the main key characters in the soundtrack in certain districts. When that saxophone play, baby, that saxophone goes in. On top of that, the battling system is dope. What my negatives of the game, what they need to improve on, of course, is the visuals. Finding a way to get the other characters involved more, especially if you want a character to have main character syndrome. I need to see them doing more than what I'm doing. Even though I know I'm the main character, that's how games go. It ain't really that big of a thing, but I would like to see them more involved as far as the person they're trying to make a main character. This game still is very involved when it comes to the side characters, NPCs, but there are certain beats and certain times in the game where I wish they would have elaborated more, or gave this person more time to talk about their failures, talk about their feelings, elaborate more on what people was feeling at the time when struggle happens. But other than that, the story and the characters are great. And of course, we already know the visuals. The visuals look, this is probably the best looking Pokemon game on the Switch, outside of the windows. I don't care about the windows. But outside of that, the Pokemon animation, the way Pokemon interact, overall, I like the way that the Pokemon in the world does feel involved. This game does feel like I was playing in an anime. And that's all I ever wanted. Was if it felt like an episode, it felt like an arc in the anime series, and you're going around helping the citizens. It's like you went to Cerulean City for like 4 episodes, but you went to Lumio City and helped the people in the city do what they need to do. Different whimsical things. The side quests are dope, like very involved. Some of them are pointless, but there are a lot of side quests with a lot of personality and a lot of different type of things you can do. But now that this game is out, what is next for Pokemon now that we have this game out the way and we have this DLC coming? What will be the next step to evolve the Pokemon franchise when it comes to Gen 10? And will we be seeing this battling system again? And do we want to see it again? Me personally, I do want to see it again. I think that this is a step towards the future of trying to make it less, less stagnant, less stale. But I know that there are a lot of people that said for the next game, keep this for this, keep this battle system for Legends. Don't put this in the main line. But me personally, I think this might be something to test out in the mainline games. We already know that we're getting Pokemon Champions with all the battle formats, all the gimmicks that's gonna keep that turn-based, that competitive thing going. So is it really needed in the next mainline story game when they can try to use that now to evolve the franchise and the way the game plays? I think that using this turn-based system, using everything that happened in Legends Z-A and before, might be the best bet when it comes to making this game new and still, especially for being the first Pokemon game developed for the Switch 2. If they can get these characters and story beats and side missions that we have in Legends Z-A and implement that in the story as well, make these side characters and NPCs just as interesting, that will make Gen 10 fun to explore and get to know these characters. But also, let's go to the battling system. Again, if they implement a way to make this battle system more strategic, but still keep it fun, that could make Gen 10 one of the games to remember. One of my ideas is, if you think about how, if you think about how Astral Chain played, and you think about how you control the other character, you controlled your astral thing with the others, with the left stick and the right stick, you control both of your characters with that. That would be cool to try to use when it comes to these battles, so you can actually have your Pokemon dodging when you want it to dodge. But would that cause a problem with how cheesy the game could be? Possibly so. But I think because of the way ZA plays and your player can get hit, I think that's why you couldn't independently move them. But in a Gen 10 game where you're not getting hit by the Pokemon and you would probably be sitting still stationary giving commands, why not use the control stick to give commands to move left, move right, dodge up, dodge right, but also be able to tell them to use their moves with the cooldown system? I don't know how that would work, but I feel like if they can figure that out and then also make the moves more competitive and have more effects, like I would love to see Trick Room or any other terrains working in this real-time format. Another thing is taking what was good about Lumio City and putting that into the individual cities in Gen 10, because a lot of people say in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the towns felt empty. They didn't feel unique. It was all outside, couldn't go in no buildings, none of that. We need more of that. We need more of that. And an improvement of that too, because ZA didn't do it perfectly, but they did it pretty well, in my opinion. They still got some things to work on, but being able to make a lot of the cities in the game have people walking around doing things, have their own side missions, have things going on, have people actually integrated in their city, Pokemon in the landscapes, on the roofs, just chilling, actually intertwined in the world. I think that would make Gen 10 a game that's very fun to explore, if they can do that, if they can iterate that in the right way. Now, that could be something hard to do, but I feel like that would definitely help. And honestly, that's all I would need for Gen 10 to do, is to figure out a way to keep making good stories, keep the music good, keep the characters very involved and also interesting and different and colorful. Like, that was the best thing about them. But I also find a way to make that balance system more competitive, but also still focus on fun in the real-time aspects of it. Now, let me know in the comment section what you would like to see in Gen 10, and what do you think is here for the future of Pokemon now that we have champions? We have all these games that we know are coming out. What's next now that this game is over with? Will they evolve the formula, or will they go back to what they know, and how will y'all feel about that? Thank you for watching this video, and again, Pokémon Legends Z-A was a great game for me, and if you're a Pokemon fan and you haven't played this yet, you definitely should. And if you're trying to figure out if you would like Pokemon and want to try one for the first time, I still think this is okay. There's a lot of lore. If you're able to play Pokemon X and Y, play that and get some story off of that. But this game is very fun to me, despite some of the stuff that you might be hearing on the internet. This game is good. This game is great, actually. But there are some minor things that need to be tweaked, some visual things that they need to work on. Otherwise, it's one of my favorite games of the year and the most fun I've had in Pokemon in a long time. And I might even like this more than Pokemon Legends Arceus. But that's all for me. This video is getting long. And let me know in the comment section if anything else you want to talk about, or your feelings on Pokemon Z-A and the future of Pokemon. Y'all have a good one, and bye-bye.